and gloves. Now you got.
I'm 34 minutes out and 5 minutes late for a 7 o'clock dinner at the hotel. After that, we have a presentation on, I assume, the bikes and what we're up to tomorrow. I know some details. We're heading to the Sunday Creek Raceway in Millfield, Ohio, and you may recognize that because that's where I believe, I'm almost certain, that's where the last GNCC was held. I think they call it the John Penton. So that race is at the Millfield, Ohio track. I've never actually been here, so this is a big learning experience for me, and I'm going to take you along with me. But we are riding almost the whole day. It's going to be awesome. Get to try out all these bikes. I'm going to get lots of footage for you guys, trying out all these new bikes. And I've already had a bunch of text messages from my buddies about, you know, what about the suspension? What about the frame? What about this? So I've got a list of questions people want, and hopefully those questions touch upon what you're interested in as well.
New. That's new from the ground up. That's swing arm, subframe, bodywork, engines, internals. 95% of the part numbers are new for this generation, so a significant change to this model range. Really there just to grab onto with your legs. So it's symmetric without the exhaust side, still comes out just as far. We've got, of course, a nice flat seat with a new texture on it, and then new gas tanks. 8.5 liter and 9 liter gas tanks, or in gallons, it's 2.24 or 2.37. 4-stroke or 2-stroke. 2-stroke is the larger capacity. You'll also notice when you walked up to the bikes, you do see the fill point for the reservoir. So these are injected bikes. These are oil injected bikes. Of course, you notice with the cross-country lineup, we went premix. On the Enduros, oil injected. And of course, that just makes a lot of sense for the kind of riding that people are going to be doing with these bikes. Now, we have two frames. There's, well, I should say three frames. There's the 150 frame, 250, 300 frame, so that's on the 2-stroke side, and all the 4-stroke displacements share the same frame. From the 20 model to the 2024, we have a completely different shock tower. So you can see with the outgoing bike, the shock mounted to the backbone. So that means all that energy that was going through the shock, of course, would transfer through the backbone into the triple clamps and into the rider. So we wanted to isolate that, add a little bit more comfort. So this new shock tower here that separates that path of energy gives you less feedback from the bike, a little bit more comfort. We've also increased torsional rigidity. So the frame isn't flexing as much torsionally, that just keeps it from binding up. And we have kept lateral longitudinal rigidity. So front to back rigidity, unchanged. So a lot of work has been done to the frame to bring in better steering, better performance.
Hi, my name's Lee. I'm R&D suspension technician for WP KTM. And today we're going to go over some of the updates to the suspension on the EXC, XCW, and XC motorcycles. And the big changes are in the fork, but we'll talk about the shock first. It's a PDS unit, maintaining the same type of technology that we've always had on these bikes. The upgrades are going to be in the area of, externally the clickers are adjustable, similar to the exact link shock. We've gone away from a progressive rate spring, and we're now running a straight rate spring on this. And internally, there's new changes to the DCC, which is your adjusters. It's basically the same that's coming on the latest generation exact 50mm shock, and on the rebound it has a knob adjuster. So internally as well, the new piston, the main piston, is a similar design to the 50mm shock. So that being said, the fork is the area with the biggest updates on a lot of these bikes that we're launching today. They used to come with the Explore fork, which is an open cartridge system with split adjustability. In other words, the compression adjuster is on the left leg and the rebound on the right. This new fork is a spring fork, closed cartridge, and is not a split function. It has compression and rebound adjustment on both legs. Additionally, it is got a new 23mm cartridge and mid-valve piston. The base valve is very similar to the base valve that came on the air forks. Very small differences there. And ultimately, the fork is a much more performance-oriented, and there's a lot more adjustability that can be tuned into it compared with what it's replacing.
And what's the, how are the similarities between this fork and the 6500 WP drop-in kit that existed prior?
Sure, that's a question I've had a lot, and this is a production fork, so there's some of the way that it's built is to be more efficient in production. For instance, it doesn't use any delta shims, they're all round shims. It overall is very similar to the 6500 kit, however, they do not share any components. The components that it does share with another fork from our catalog would be the base valve assembly, which is very, very similar to what came in the damping side of an air fork. The main part of the cartridge is a 23mm cartridge with a brand new piston, brand new tap. It has, like I said, some of the reasons for that are for production realities. This is a fork that is going to be built in high volume and needs to be efficient in that respect. That being said, it is, in my opinion, having spent many years working on different suspension units, I would honestly say this is the best production level closed cartridge fork that's been produced. It has a lot of potential and is very predictable and easy to work with.
Well, I have to say, I've ridden the bikes today, and I completely agree with you. I can't believe how good they are for stock. It feels very similar to Pro Suspension or 6500 kit. So thank you.
My pleasure.
Yeah, one of the tests that we did this year, we went back through and tested every clamp that we've had from 2015 on, and this was actually in the lineup. Stem a little bit to compensate for that a little bit.
Yeah, so there's a little bit more rigidity in the fact that it's forged, but then to bring the comfort back, now that we have a new softer steering stem. Perfect. All right, then we also have an all-new subframe design. So this is a hybrid subframe. It's polyamide composite, and then it has aluminum spars. So you can see here, the aluminum spars go all the way up to the back, all the way to the exhaust mount. So you've got the strength there, but they wanted to use the hybrid design so you can blend the durability of the aluminum and the flex of the plastic. So if you do crash this bike, the design is that it will flex and come back. So the flex of it has been, the rigidity has been increased a little bit, but we also put a 22mm rear axle on there to put a little bit of flex back into the rear end. So that way the rear wheel can flex and you're not getting as much deflection off rocks, right? Which works really, really well for off-road applications. And it also just looks amazing. They did a great job with the finish of it. And it's about 8mm wider, but the whole platform itself is bigger. You can see it comes down a little bit further towards the frame. Really like the feel of the new wider platform. It's more comfortable if you're spending a lot of time standing up on the bike, but also a big benefit there. With the wider platform, your legs are spread just a little bit more and your knees can come in and really grab on. That has allowed R&D to really define the air that goes into the airbox. If you look at the 20 versus the 24, you can see there's far less air. Air is coming in from everywhere. Air is coming in from any gap in the plastics, around the electronics, anywhere that it can find a path. And then, of course, new mapping. This allows us to enable features like the two maps that we have, traction control, quick shifter, but yeah, Lucas, I'll let you take the ECU.
So here you will see the 4-stroke ECU, and like Ryan mentioned, we have a white map, a green map, traction control, and a new possibility for a quick shift. The white map is especially made for enduro riding, so a smooth power control, what you will want to have by steep uphills. You want to find the traction, and that's to have this responsiveness.
This cleans it up. Everything's built into one small unit. It controls the ignition, the lights, the brake, the horn, the pump, and the fan. One beauty of this is everything's green, everything's working. If there's ever a red light, then you know that there's an issue down that line.
Where is that?
That's
under
right.
the seat.
Yeah, under the seat, right next to the ECU.
So if you remember with the old design, we had all the relays right towards the back of the fender.
Yeah.
And you'd have to carry spare relays if you did have a problem. This is a digital unit, so
Sealed.
more durability, sealed. On all of the displacements, everything is all new. Essentially, new cases, new internals. We've repositioned all the 4-stroke engines, rotated them back 2 degrees, and we've done that to drop the sprocket position 3 millimeters, so you have less torque on the chain, which gives you better anti-cylinders, new everything. Of course, we now have throttle body injection, so instead of the TPI, which means we have new cylinder heads on the 150, on the 250, on the 300. So new cylinder head. What's nice about this, unlike some previous models, we don't have a shared cylinder head from SX and XCW. Right, so we actually have different port timing for the Enduro product. Instead of cylinder. What did I say? Yeah. Oh, cylinder. Yep. So we have different port timing, and that has allowed us to focus more on torque and all the low end power that you want out of an Enduro product. And then on the SX and the XC, we'll have more your track performance oriented. And then I think probably the biggest story is going to be the new electronically controlled power valve. So as this animation is playing, Casey, will you talk about the power valve?
Yeah, so the beauty, obviously with the old style power valve, it was centrifugal. When you hit a certain RPM, the thing snaps open. There's no control with it. It opened, and that was it. With the electronically controlled version with the ECU, now they could base it off not only throttle position, but engine RPM. If you want, in the white map, it's a little bit softer opening. It doesn't just snap open, maybe open slower along the range, giving you kind of a smoother power delivery, less hit. The green map may be a little bit more aggressive. Still controlled, but they definitely had different characters for how they open between the two.
Okay, starting off on my favorite bike. I hope it's not too fast. Track the awesomeness.
Just whenever you're ready, Mark in the KTM gear right here.
Yeah.
Just head me him right here and go.
Awesome. That's cool, you're running a tech vest.
Yeah,
That's a Canadian company, eh?
Yeah,
Yeah.
these things are amazing.
Really, eh?
Yeah,
Oh,
I kind of feel naked without it now.
Wow.
So much protection.
Alright, so the first bike I'm trying out here is this XCW-300, which is my favorite bike of all time. If I could have one bike, this is the one. And this is the new version of it. A lot of changes going on. I just took it for a quick rip, and immediately I can notice a lot of changes in the balance, and definitely the suspension. From stock suspension, this is a very different bike and a much better bike, more akin to my bike with the 6500 kit, which makes a lot of sense because that's effectively what is in here. You've got springs, you've got compression and rebound individualized to each fork, and it is a far superior suspension than to the stock Explorer that came with this bike before. So now I'm going to really rip this bike and hopefully not dump it, and see what it's really capable of in comparison to my 2020 KTM XCW-300 TPI. All right, so I just got off the grass track, and I'll just give you my thoughts on how this bike rides. And this is interesting because I'm coming off a 2020 TPI where I've done the suspension, I've put in a Cooper ECU, done all the modifications to make it peak performance as I can. But what I'm noticing is with this bike, it's pretty darn close to what I've done to my bike. And for a stock bike, I don't think I've ever ridden a stock bike so nice. The suspension on this is definitely a different beast altogether than what you're dealing with before. The balance on the bike seems a lot better. The two maps make a big difference, especially for those of you who want to ride more casual trail or doing some really gnarly terrain. The white map is going to really help you out with that, whereas the green map, you can just get on that full pin and really get out there where you need to, especially on the grass track out in the dirt. It was nice to be able to feel that power when I needed it. So far I'm absolutely loving this bike. It just feels right. So let's get into the woods and see what it can do there. Are great. I love it. What about that one? Really nice thing about this suspension too, I'm not going to mess around with it right now because I don't want to fix it for someone else, but all of this suspension here you can adjust with hand clickers. So, you know, click in, click out, high speed, compression, low speed, all right there. You've got your rebound right here, all hand adjustable. Really nice. You still got this plastic piece for setting your sag, which isn't ideal. I really like the aluminum because this kind of gets beat up. I wish they had switched that over to an aluminum ring. So it's the same system there. But these hand adjustments will make a huge difference on being able to change things without having to have a bunch of tools. Same thing up here, you've got hand adjusters up at the top. I haven't even looked at the bottom yet. Let's see what that, oh yeah, same at the bottom. You've got hand adjusters as well for your rebound, so that's fantastic. I think you might want to put some sort of protector under here. The Cherbis makes a nice one, and that way you're not gonna, I could see a rock getting stuck in there and wrecking that plastic, so that's probably not the best design. You want to get something protecting that for sure. One thing that's really nice with these too is they moved away from the orange into like this bluer. It looks like a brighter LED screen. Really nice mounting. You can see it's a lot sturdier frame up front for the LED headlight. I'm gonna fire that on. How do I turn on the headlight here? Oh, cool, the button, look at that. So you can see on the new one, it's got a bright new LED headlight, very bright. One thing I just noticed as I was pulling my bike up, you can reach under, and this is a really nice grab handle for you to pick your bike up, and especially in the hard enduro stuff, that feels really good because you're always trying to find something. But yeah, that feels great. Okay, who's our next victim? This one. Ooh. This one's intimidating.
Remember to
Oh, the quick shift.
quick shift,
Yeah.
and here, start it. Let's see.
Okay.
So quick shift on, quick shift on.
Yeah.
So obviously the button goes off,
Okay.
on, and then your track control, which you probably know. And then, but try both maps. Make sure you try green.
I did on that bike, and it's amazing the difference.
Yeah.
It's really
That
noticeable.
one, yeah, that one, the power valve, it changes the power valve a little bit.
Yeah.
This one is all done through timing and spark. But and remember, this only works from second up.
Right. Yeah. So second up, fire it up. Okay. Thanks, Andy. Are we recording for this madness? One thing I should also say, I remember it there, all these new hand guards are so nice. I have it on my 350 XCF, and I love these hand guards. They're big, they're robust, and they don't break easily. I love them, and they're not that expensive to replace. So they did a really good job with hand guards because I'm always messing around with my other bike, and I'm happy to see them all on this bike now. 450. Oh, that quick shift is nice. Oh yeah, that feels great. Yeah. Well, there you have it. I hope you enjoyed this very special episode of Big Iron Moto TV. Thanks for KTM USA and KTM Canada for sending me down to try out these bikes. I absolutely loved every single one I tried. This is the one I've been riding most of the day. This is the 300 XCW, which is the line that I ride on the day-to-day. And I have to say, coming from my 2020 that is fully prepped and ready for racing and pretty much as good as you can make it, this bike is not far off, and this bike is ready to race, as they say. I can't believe how good the suspension is, how balanced it is, and that goes the same with all the bikes that I tried today, whether it's a 150, 450, 300, 250, all of them were just perfect. The TBI response is unbelievable. I highly recommend that you look into getting one of these new KTM bikes. You won't be disappointed. This is an awesome new line coming in 2024.